Hey folks, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Mohammad Shariat Al-Mustakim, and this is my series on AWS. Okay, so in the last videos we have basically learned about IAM and EC2, basic EC2, and how to launch that. And we did learn about security groups, but not in brief, right? So now this time you will learn about security groups as a whole and many more concepts, how we can connect our EC2 instance in Windows using PuTTY or I guess SSH, right? We can do that. Also, we will use EC2 Connect basically from AWS portal, and we'll also learn about how many options we have basically to buy EC2 instances. There are lots of options basically specifically for the business purpose and many more. Okay, so great. Now let's look for the security groups. So security groups in general contains allow rules, right? So great, like the rules, we will add some rules which is in general allow rules. Now we need to mention or we need to specify access to ports, we need to specify authorize the IP ranges, control inbound and outbound networks in the security groups. And in our last video, I believe you have already seen that. Great, no problem with that. Now let's move to the this diagram. So you can assume this as the security group, and I've just created something like firewall. You can assume this security group as a firewall as well. So we have an EC2 instance, and for that we have created a security group. So security group, when we are creating a security group, we need to mention how this the network traffic is going to end, or which IP can access this EC2 instance or not. There are these kind of things we need to mention. Okay, so here this diagram shows that there is an EC2 obviously there's an EC2 instance, and there is a actually firewall or security group which ensures that anyone from outside can contact this EC2 instance. Okay, so you can see vice versa, basically anyone from the internet or some outside can contact. Okay, although this image is not same as this diagram, this is something something huge. I'm just giving for an example, like in our security group, if you go for the inbound rule, you can just see these kind of things, right? Okay, let's go to our demo part, and we will just create an EC2 instance so far, right? In my last video I did create an EC2 instance, and what I did now is I have just terminated that. So you can also do that, or you can keep that EC2 instance. Okay, let me go to that part. Okay, here, so yeah, we did create an EC2 instance, right? So I have just pressed like this. I've just chosen this one and went to actions and then terminated that. Okay, you can do that, or you can keep that, because now I'm going to create another one just for the reference. Okay, so let's create an EC2 instance. It will be super fast because I believe you are already familiar with the options. Okay, so demo tool. Okay, great. I'm not choosing another thing. This is the demo key I've been using. Great, and this is the network we did create using default one, right? You can see, and it's enabled. Great. I'm just going to allow HTTP traffic for now, for this EC2 instance. Now you may ask, why don't we actually go for this HTTPS? Okay, so earlier in the last video you might have seen that we actually got the access using HTTP only. Okay, now why this thing is a problem, we will just learn it here. The slides, let me go here. Great, I believe you can see that. So when an EC2 instance is running, okay, so HTTP works because there is an Apache is basically which is installed and serving the plain HTTP, so it can show the HTTP. Okay, you can see not secure is basically because the IP address has been I'm using was using HTTP, but when I want to use it using HTTPS, it is not working, because it doesn't work because we have not configured any SSL or TLS. Okay, this is a certificate. Okay, we might learn that later on, and as the certificate is not ensured, so we can't get access to the site using HTTPS. Okay, because HTTP this S basically comes from here. Okay, now let's move to here, and let's just create this one, SSH and HTTP. Great. And if you go to advanced details, we need to now move to the same one, the same code we script basically we used earlier. I've just pasted that here. Great. Now I'm just going to create the instance. Okay, great. It's so it will be running within a while. So when I was creating this EC2 instance, I basically created a security group here as well. So if you just focus on the networking portion, if you have seen that, you will see that I didn't pick an existing security group, rather I chose create a security group. Okay, so if you just look into here into EC2, sorry, and if you go for the security groups, you will see that this is the default one which I'm not using. The launch wizard one which has been created basically, right, created and so on so forth. There is a code, and the owner, 3 permission entries and so on. Okay, so 3 permission entries, you know, like the 2 I did actually add the inbound rules, right, SSH and HTTP. These are the 2 I did add in the video, you have seen that. And there is an outbound rule which I haven't edited or anything. The outbound rule basically in general by default is that from your EC2 instance you can contact anywhere. That means you can obviously request from this EC2 instance to outside, but if someone wants to contact only, they can contact via HTTP and SSH. Okay, we'll just see that. Okay, if you just look into the security group, okay, so there is an error. Let me just wait a bit once it's created or so. Okay, great, some error occurred. Let's see. Okay, let's just look into here. So if you just look into here, we did for this EC2 instance, we did create this security group obviously, and we did pick this HTTP and SSH traffic for the inbound routes. Okay, I will specify this through the slide. If you just move here, okay, if you just move here, okay, something like that, the inbound rules. So just forget this IP and others. Okay, inbound rules, assume that these inbound rules, when we are basically choosing these inbound rules, we need to mention IP. Okay, I did mention in the last video that we can choose a customized IP or my IP or allow anyone, and if we want to allow anyone, we do choose this one. This is a dedicated IP basically to mean that anyone can access to anything, to your service. Okay, okay, great. So yeah, assume that here in case of our EC2 instance, we have decided that we will just choose my IP to contact this EC2 instance, no problem. Okay, so assume that I have been allowed. Okay, I've been allowed using maybe SSH or HTTP, no problem with that. That's not an issue. Okay, we can do that. Again, for the outbound traffic, that's something which we don't choose in our EC2 instance, which we haven't chosen here. You can see that was basically created by default. You can see all traffic can go outside basically. You can see destination. Okay, so in the inbound, you can see this is the source. That means from outside, anyone that the source can contact us, the EC2 instance. But for the outbound, we are saying that anything from this EC2 instance can go anywhere. And that is basically which we didn't specify because that's created by default. Okay, yeah, you can although come here now and actually edit this one, like this edit outbound rule. You can do that for sure. You can specify. You can even see that rules with destination like this allow your instance to send traffic to any IPv4, IPv6. So we recommend like using any specific IP in your job or in professional stuff. Obviously, they do specify the IP address also. Okay, this is how you can learn about security group. Now let's move to the theoretical part. Okay, so far we did learn about this one. Now if we just look into here, which I have shown you earlier as well. So just assume that we have created an EC2 instance and there was a firewall, a security group which works as a firewall. So there was some inbound rules set. Okay, assume that the security, while we were creating the security group, there was some inbound rules set and there was some outbound rules set. Okay, we can do that also, right? Or we can modify. So the outbound rule was from this EC2 instance we can contact anywhere in the internet. Okay, but for the inbound rules we have specified that only my IP can contact this EC2 instance, maybe using SSH or HTTP. You can specify that, you can do that. So and other IP, or that means this is allowed, and only if my IP is allowed, that means any other IP from any other IP address, if someone wants to contact, that will be rejected, and that's what we have shown. So in case if you want to do that, actually if you want to make this happen for this specific security group, what you have to do is if you go to inbound rules, you can see that we are saying anyone from the internet can use HTTP to contact our security group, and in the security group we have obviously the EC2 instance. So you can obviously change it to match with the diagram. To match with this diagram, this is what we have to do. Let's just look into here. So yeah, you can just choose here from the drop down, you can choose my IP, and that will be done. That's it. So you can do that, and from here you can also press this my IP option. Then what will happen is, using SSH or HTTP only from your IP address, you can contact this EC2 instance. No one from outside can contact it, and this will exactly work like this diagram. That's it. Okay, so we are not making, we haven't made any changes to here, so let it be. We're just learning the theoretical part. Okay, great. Now let's move to the next slide, which is how security groups basically or group works as a auto scaling one. Okay, now you can see is that the very interesting portion is, which we'll learn later on, auto scaling group and others. That is, just focus on this one. This is a security group, right? Okay, and there is an EC2 instance, no problem. What we mentioned in the security group is that in the security group, obviously what you can do is, you can, rather than specifying the source only or the IP or something, you can also do one interesting thing. You can specify that which other security group can access this security group. Okay, so what's this? What is this, or what kind of things we are talking? You can see that there is another security group. Within that there is an EC2 instance. So you assume that this firewall or security group allowed security group 1 and 2 to enter or get access to this EC2 instance. Okay, so you can see allowed security group 1 and 2. So this is a security group which has one EC2 instance. This is a security group which has obviously one EC2 instance. They can access to this EC2 instance, no problem. Now this is another EC2 instance, but you can see this is a security group 3. But by default, as we have seen set that security group 1 and 2 can only access. Security group 3 is obviously by default terminated here. That means it cannot get access to it. Obviously it is not deleted. You can create the EC2 instance, no problem, but it cannot get access to this EC2 instance. Okay, so you can see that this EC2 instance is automatically lots of EC2 instance can add with this EC2 instance. Okay, so once you allow this security group, like for example, if this security group 1 had thousands of EC2 instances here, not only one, and here thousands, so this now you can understand that this EC2 instance can be connected with 2000 EC2 instance here. So it's just scaling up. Okay, something like that. So it can be it can work like that. Okay, it's scaling. So you can just assume that okay, so now there will be some interesting ports to remember. 22 for SSH port, 21 for FTP, 22 for SFTP, upload files using SSH, as that's why they are same, 80 for HTTP, 443 for HTTPS, and 3389 for remote desktop protocol. Okay, so we just need to focus on 22, 80 and 443. Great. because yeah, we have seen that in our when we were launching the EC2. And also keep it in mind that this is how it's going to work. Now just a moment back we did launch an EC2 instance, right? Now let's verify, let's try to see if that works with HTTP, right? Let's just move to this portion here. This is where we were. Now if we go to the dashboard and go for the instance running, okay, you can check this instance is running. Let's go to open address. Great. And let's wait for this to work. Open address, or copy paste this one. Okay, great. So you can see it's basically using HTTPS, and if you just press this one and this one, now it's working, right? As mentioned, this is how it should work, and it's working. And eventually it's also not working because by default it adds HTTPS here. When we press any IP, this browser actually adds this HTTPS, but yeah, as you know, this HTTPS should not work theoretically. So yeah, this is what we can see here as well. It should not work. Great. Now let's move to the another part, which now we are going to learn about SSH, how we can contact. As you have just learned, we have permitted SSH, like we have permitted anyone from outside to use SSH and HTTP to get access to our EC2 instance, right? In the EC2 instance, obviously there was some script, and that's why this HTTP, this script is showing here. That's it, nothing else. This is very easy. You just don't need to bother about it. You just don't need to take some panic here. So easy. Okay, now let's move to here. Obviously, yeah, this is basically the output from the script within the EC2 instance. So just keep it in mind, we created an EC2 instance, and in the EC2 instance we did provide some script. The main task of this script was, if you just move to this one here, you can see echo, that means print hello world from hostname, which is private IP, and do this one sudo t others. Okay, and yeah, this is why this is printed here. Now let's focus on how we can connect, right? How we can now connect using SSH. You have easily seen how we have actually connected here using HTTP. Now how about how we can do that using SSH? Let's just move it here. So if you're using Windows or Mac, you can use obviously SSH, and for Windows, yeah, within obviously 11 or so, you can use SSH as well. But EC2 instance connect is another option which we will also show. Actually this works for anything because it basically works in the AWS portal. Okay, so you just don't need to do it in your local system then. Okay, now let's move to the next option, which is the demo, which we will now see how we can connect the SSH basically, connect the EC2 instance basically using SSH. First of all, this is something you can go for, which is PuTTY, and this PuTTY is basically for Windows less than 10, maybe 8 or so. If you are using Windows 8 or something, you can use PuTTY to connect your EC2 instance locally. But if you're using if you're using Windows 10 or so or 11, you can easily just use SSH from your PowerShell. Okay, that is pretty much easy. Now let's look for the option. Let's use the PuTTY. But keep it in mind, this is how this diagram should look like. So you have the EC2 instance is the firewall, and you are just now using port 22. This is SSH as mentioned. The EC2 instance I have shown you. If you just look into here, if you just look into here in the security, yeah, in the security, just forget about the outbound one, the inbound one. It can use 22, port 22, and port 80, port 84, HTTP, port 22 for SSH from outside. Okay, this is what we are doing. Okay, great. So we're just now focusing on the 22 because we have already seen the port 80, which is HTTP. Okay, now let's go for the PuTTY option. So let's go for the demo. Okay, so to install PuTTY, you just need to search for obviously PuTTY and download that. So I have already downloaded that, the 64-bit x86. So once you have downloaded that, you have to install that, and once you install that, there will be two options, PuTTY Gen, and there will be another for the PuTTY option. Okay, if you just search here, you can see we have PuTTY and we have PuTTY Gen. So why PuTTY Gen? Now if you have seen the previous video where I actually did show you how you can create a key pair, right? And I also mentioned that when you are actually connecting the local system with the EC2 instance, you need a key pair to securely communicate. And then at that time we actually created this actually key pair and downloaded that locally this time, and that was the .pm format. Okay, and when we were creating that, there was an option called PuTTY also, but obviously, as mentioned, I did also mention that you can do that, or you can choose that PuTTY option only if you're using a old version of Windows. Okay, so okay, this PuTTY chain, if you can see here, basically converts that .pm file which we downloaded locally. That so we can just use that, we can just convert the .pm file to ppk file. Okay, so let's just load this one. Okay, so here you can see .pm file. This is the pm file I did create, and yeah, I have also shown you the steps in the earlier video. Okay, or in case you have missed that option, you can do one thing, that first of all, you have to keep in mind that this is an EC2 instance which we have created, right? And obviously this EC2 instance should be connected with that key pair, right? So you can see the networking, obviously this is the networking and so on, right? And if you just look into the security, you can also see the inbound security groups and so on, right? Okay, also you can just try to look for, okay, why is the security or is the key pair mentioned here? Okay, you can just look for that and verify if we have already added that. But if you have just followed my video, you have already seen how we have added that. And for this EC2 instance, this was the demo key which I have picked, which I have chosen, and even I did use this demo key 11 for the last EC2 instance which created in the last video as well. So if you are following the steps, then you don't need to worry about anything. Okay, so great. If you just press this one, you can see what we can do. You can delete one, or we can import keys. But the issue is, how can you download this one? So that is an important thing. You cannot do that now. Okay, so in case there is something, or you have deleted this one, or this is missing, obviously if this is missing, you cannot create the EC2 instance. Okay, but if some you have just pressed this delete option, or it is not there, you should shut down the EC2 instance which is running, and then create an EC2 instance. And while creating that, you have to generate this one and download that locally. Okay, so let's just avoid this one. If you follow the whole process, there's nothing to worry about it. Okay, now where were we? So basically we have imported the pm file. Okay, great. Now what? So you can see we have this option, save private key. So let's just press this one, and in the same we will just say EC2, sorry, EC2 private, right, and ppk. Great. So save this one. So in the same folder where we had the .pm file, we have the ppk file. Okay, great. Now what? This ppk file is basically required for this PuTTY, because PuTTY is something which we are using is in Windows that's less than 10. Okay, so this is why. Now we will just use the PuTTY. Okay, great. Let's just avoid this one. Okay, now we need to do some interesting things. What is that? If you just follow here, I've already mentioned what we need to do. What we have to do is we have to write this one, EC2 dash user at the public IP address for the running EC2 instance, and save it for with a name like maybe EC2 instance. Then go for the SSH authentication and choose the private key, the PPK which we created for this party file. We can just choose this one. Now let's move to here. Okay, so what we have to do is EC2 the rate. Okay, EC2 user. Okay, now if you just go here in the running, you can see the public IP. Let's just copy this one, command V. Great. And then do one. We can just write this EC2. Sorry. Okay, no problem with that. We can just make it better, although we can just press this. Okay, so this EC2 user at the rate the public IP has been saved, and you can see port 22, which is for the SSH. Okay, so this party is basically using port 22, but this is not the end. What we have to do is we have to go for the SSH, then authenticate the credential and private key for the file. Then we have to choose the PPK file. Sorry. Great. Done. Now go to the session, and then for this one save again. Okay, so this is a session that has saved, and in the session EC2 instance was there, and we have specified EC2 dash user the rate this and provided the key pair. Now basically what we are doing is we have created the username here, we provided the IP username, and there should be some password, right? When you're logging into something, you need to provide name, password, right, and where you want to contact. So this is where I want to contact. I provided the name or username, and then I need to provide the password or something. Instead of password, we're using key pair. This is for this is something we are using. Okay, and there is nothing password here. Okay, if you just press open, okay, this is the option you can look into. So yeah, it just opens, and I need to accept this one. You can see using username this is and Amazon Linux 2023 and so on. So we have successfully logged into the EC2 instance. Okay, now if you just press who am I, sorry, it should be caps lock is not still off. Okay, my bad. Okay, so you can see that it provides the username. So this username basically EC2 user. So you can easily use the Linux, the Amazon Linux 2023 basically within your Windows, right? So this is one option. Like using the cloud, you can use Linux locally. Great. But if you're using Windows that supports this SSH, in general it's for Windows 10 and 11, so you can easily do that using just one line of command. Let's go for that. Great. Okay, now we've just gone to the folder where we have already saved the .pem file. So if you just come up here, or if you just, sorry, my bad, if you just press this one and write PowerShell, yes, PowerShell, you can see the PowerShell is opened in the same location. So you just don't need to go to this location, or you can just use CD and other go to the location, no problem with that. Now what we need to do is we need to write this command. Sorry, I believe as it was we have just scale this one, so that's why it doesn't look good here. Okay, I just want to clear. Okay, there is another. Okay, great, now it should look good. Now let's just press SSH I, then provide the PEM file name. So if you just look into here, demo key101.pem, demo key1.pem, then what? Then we need to provide this EC2 username at the rate. By default is EC2 dash user, so this is what you need to provide by default, or you can do other at the rate. Then the public IP address, which we have is this one. Okay, great. Now let's move to here, provide this one. Now let's press this enter option. Yes, warning. Okay, great. We have logged into the Linux one. Now you see, interesting, we are using Windows, but using the cloud system, we are using Linux, and this Linux is basically running in the EC2 instance in the cloud. So this is how cloud has made life easier. Okay, so you can again write so great. So you can see that. So we have just used this one AWS version, and you can see that. Now interestingly, there is a thing that I did actually miss out. That is, we're currently now we're connected directly to the EC2 instance, which we have created just a moment back. For this EC2 instance, obviously, now this EC2 instance we are connected with it, no problem. By default, the AWS CLI is installed there. Also, we have an AWS CLI installed in locally. That's also an interesting point. But when we press this AWS dash version, this is basically the AWS CLI version, which is by default there in the internet, not the local one, which I didn't miss out because I didn't see this one. Sorry for that. Okay, now this is here. But now if you want to look for the list users, which you want to list the IAM users, if you want to check that, you cannot do that. Now this is an interesting point, because this EC2 instance is in the internet, right? And it has the AWS CLI, but we haven't provided the access key there. But if we just get out of this EC2 users and only just try to look for the AWS IAM user list, we can do that from locally, because in the local system we have provided the access keys, but in this EC2 instance we haven't yet provided the access key for the IAM account dev1. Okay, that's an issue. So you can do that. Basically, I can press the AWS configure and provide the access keys, and I can easily get access to it. No problem with that. But that's an issue, and this is what we will talk about basically next. If you just look into this slide here. So users of IAM role, we will use IAM role basically here. Okay. In this case basically, now why? Because when you provide the keys, the access keys as a whole, anyone, if that's leaked, obviously if someone has access to this EC2 instance, they can easily get access to the lot of things, IAM users and others, and the lots of permission related to it. Okay, so it's the best practice is to create a role which will be connected to this EC2 instance. So in case this EC2 instance basically wants some information from this AWS account, it can easily go to it using the role. Okay, we'll look into the role and so. But before that, I did mention I will just show you using the EC2 instance connect. Let's just do that. Okay, if you just go to this one here into the connect, you can see this is the public IP for this EC2 instance, and by default the EC2 dash user is there. So this is why that's why I have been using this one as a whole, but like so far. Okay, and press this connect, no problem. So this will again use SSH, and it will use SSH to connect with our EC2 instance. Okay, and you can see it has easily logged in. We had no issues actually logging in here. So again, if you just pray who am I, it's here. But as I mentioned, you can do that. Yes, you can do that. Now interestingly, this is one thing which we need to keep it in mind. That is, you can see the version is same. That means every time we're looking for the AWS version, that is basically looking for the AWS CLI, it's exactly the same, because all this time we have been connected to the EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance had the CLI already installed when it was created. That's it. So yeah, that's what we have been looking for. But again, as mentioned, in the local system, when we connected this EC2 instance, we try to look for the IAM list. We wanted to list the users from the IAM account. Okay, so let's just look for AWS IAM. You see, unable to locate credential. You can configure that by running AWS login. So you need to provide the credentials. That's something we don't want, and that's where the IAM role should come in. So if you have followed my previous videos, we have already talked about IAM role. Okay, so if you just look into the roles, this demo to EC2 practice, this is what we did create in that video, and I did provide only the permission for AI ops read only access. Okay, great. Now you have to understand what's happening. Okay, what is our goal? Like the EC2 instance we have created, from the EC2 instance we want to get the list, the users from IAM. So let me just make it clear. In the IAM, if you just go here, we have two users, admin and dev1. We just want to learn about them. We just want to know how many users you have. We want to see the list. That's it. Now, if you go to the roles, so demo EC2 practice, which we have created, you can see this demo EC2 practice has only, or we have added only the permission for this AI ops read only access. That means it can get access to this AI ops or something. But if we want to see the list or see the list of the users or IAM users or IAM account holders, can we do that? No. We need to add another permission like attach policies. Now we need to look for IAM. Okay, let me just provide IAM read only access. That means it can read the IAM names and so on. Okay, you can just look into the policy. You can see we have allowed to generate credential report. You can, and in the videos obviously you have learned about like the what this generate credential report is, right? And generate service access details, get what, get the name for the IAM users. You can do it, list the users. You can, there these kind of API requests have been allowed, simulate custom policy and principal policy. So okay, we're happy to add only this IAM request, add permission. We're happy. Rather what I can do here is I can just remove this AI ops here. Okay, remove this one because it is of no use. Great. Now I need to attach this role with my EC2 instance, right? Then the EC2 instance, when I will log into the EC2 instance and look for the list of users from IAM, it will obviously get access to the list of the IAM users using this role, right? Because this role has this policy. Great. Now we have to understand that we do provide permissions to IAM accounts, and we also do provide permissions to IAM roles. These are the two things. Okay, great. IAM read only. Great. Now if you just come up here, oh okay, let's just do one. Oh sorry, I haven't connected the IAM role with the EC2 instance so far. Okay, just forgot about it. Let's just go here into the EC2, and if you just look into the EC2 and if you go to the instances, which the running instance is here, if we just go up here, no problem, we can just go action, security, modify IAM role, and add the demo EC2 practice which we have created, updated, and you have just a moment back you have seen just only one EC2, only one IAM role there, because but if you just go here into the IAM here, you can see that into the role there are many roles, because when you're using a service, automatically these roles are created, or you can create a role. This is what we did in our videos. Okay, great. As we've already connected, let's see now. Great. Now when we ask for the list of the users, this EC2 instance has the actually demo role, that the role which I've created connected to it, and which has the permission to see the list of IAM users. And this is what it is, the admin ID and dev1. That's it. Great. Now let's move to the theoretical part. Okay, now let's move to the theoretical part. Great. Now we have already seen that, right? And also you can verify if the IAM role has been created or not from here. EC2 obviously, and instances. If we just look for the details, okay, let me see, storage, tags, monitoring, status and alarms. For this one, monitoring, for the monitoring option, you can see how much it has been used for this one. And here is the IAM role which we just attached here. But if you if that is not working for you, what you can do is you have to come up here into security. You'll see that is here we have basically a blank something. Okay, so into our EC2 instances, you can verify if the IAM role has been added from here in security. You have to go into the EC2 instance, security, and then you can see the EC2 instance, sorry, the IAM role. If you can see that it is not here, that means you need to press the actions, then security, modify the IAM role and attach that one. Great, and then it will work. Now let's move to the theoretical portion. So purchasing option. So there are multiple options. There is an option for called on demand. There is an option called reserved instance. There is an option called EC2 saving plans, EC2 spot instances, EC2 dedicated host, EC2 dedicated instances, EC2 capacity reservation. So on demand is something like this is what we just created on demand. So how much the more I'm going to use the EC2 instance, the more I will be charged. And there is something called reserve instance which has 72% discount, and you can reserve for up to 1 to 3 years. There is something called EC2 saving plans, and this is something kind of same like the reserved instance, but here you can like commit with AWS for some certain price for some certain time, like for example $10 for 1 to 3 years, and then after that you will be billed on demand. Then EC2 spot instance, that is the cheapest one, which has 90% discount almost. But the issue is it can be lost like in minutes. Okay, because it's something you understand that the business policy, like as you are getting this thing for so much of discount, obviously someone somewhere was using this EC2 instance and was allocated for some time, and it has been removed, and it will just want to optimize that, right? Optimize the capacity, and that's why you have been provided that with 90% discount, so you can use that. But the issue is you can obviously use the batch jobs, data analysis and so on, but it's not suitable for critical jobs or long-term jobs. You cannot do that. But to do that, to claim the options, so there are some options. We will just talk about it later on. There is another option called EC2 dedicated host, and this is basically for if your company needs some sort of basically license and so on, then what you have to ensure that you can have a license. Okay, you need to have a license, and then it will be there for you, and you can have a dedicated host for you. And within the dedicated host or server, you can run some instances, which is EC2 dedicated instances, right? And there's another thing called EC2 capacity reservation. Here you have no discount, no time commitment, and it can be cancelled. The EC2 instances and the commitment can be cancelled anytime, and it is basically charged on demand. If you run it or not, it's only suitable for short-term ones. Okay, this is a image and slide basically from Steven Merrick's slice. So here you can compare this with a resort. So basically you can see that on demand basically means you come to the resort whenever you like, and you'll be charged basically the full price, so there is no discount. For the resort, but like basically it's like planning ahead. You can plan ahead, okay, you are reserving that, and depending on the time, maybe long time, maybe 7 day or something, they may provide you some discount. And saving plans, pay a certain amount per hour for certain period, okay, in any room time, okay, just like here you can see 10 to 31 for 3 years, so a certain amount, okay. Then after that, the only one, the spot instance is the hotel allows people to bid for the empty rooms and the highest bidder keeps the room, okay. So assume that someone has booked a room, and he just went away without paying, then obviously they can bid the, okay, who wants to pay into the room, and you can pay, and the highest bidder will get this one. So there is high chance that you will get lots of discount. And there is a dedicated host. We book an entire building, the resort. That means the host, the whole building, the whole survey is ours now, okay. And obviously if the building is yours, there are lots of paperwork to be done. And that capacity reservation, you book a room for a period with full price even you don't stay in it. So you have to pay you have to pay, and obviously earlier whether you go there or not. Yeah, great. And if you just follow this one for spot instance request, you have to request this one, and we'll see there's something called persistent and one-time request and so on. You can just look into here. Let's go into this here. If you go to the EC2 instances, and you can just look for this one, you can see spot request, okay. For this spot request, you can see the pricing history, and if you look into the pricing history, okay, loading the chart, great, okay. It's basically for C3, you can just choose any other. For specifically only this type of instance, you can see that for the past 1 week, if you just move to the 3 months, sorry. So if you just look into here, you can see there are multiple regions here, okay. Availability zones. Within the availability zones we have the regions, within the region we have the availability zones. Yeah, we have these availability zones, you can see. And here you can see that there is a 62.85% saving, there is 65%, 61.44. so in the past 3 months, this is the graph, how it was charged and so on, and how much it was saved in these availability zones. Great. And yeah, then what you can do is you can create a spot plate one request, and here what you have to do is you need to mention how much EC2 instance you want to run, maybe 100, no problem. A network, which network you want to use. When we were creating an EC2 instance, basically this is what we did use, the default one, virtual private cloud, and that's why the internet access was internet gateway was there. You can provide how much virtual CPU you need, how much memory you need, and then okay, you also need to provide the strategy. You can choose the instance type just like the before. You have just seen for C5 some large and so on. You can just choose like which EC2 instances you do need, and obviously then you can press this one, price capacity optimize. It will be optimized, or you can just press capacity optimize, or this one. This is only applicable for manual select instances, okay. So fleet strength, yeah, now we can choose this one, and then you can choose this diverse across all pools, these kind of things. So you just don't need to bother. If you're a beginner, you just need to focus here that we want to run 100 instances, and assuming that 2 virtual CPUs and 3 GB only in 6 availability zones, because the default VPC we're using, we have 6 availability zones there. And if you want to verify, let's just go for here. Just to get out of it, I just want to VPC virtual private cloud. Okay, here if you just go to the virtual private cloud, so here you can see your VPCs. So I have this virtual private cloud, and this virtual private cloud has 1 2 3 4 5 6 availability zones. Yeah, this is what This is why this is we have 6 here. But if you just want to change here, you cannot now actually change the virtual CPUs, because manual select instance, so it will be only this. You have already picked the 216 two others, right? So it's instance requirements 2 virtual CPUs and 3 and 6, so it will be basically diverse to look into that. But if you just look into this one, specify, so you can also mention how much you need, great, minimum. And so you can see its fleet strength is very weak when you do that, because 0 matching instance type. So the requirement is so high that there is a high chance that you won't even get this, something like this. So let me just do this. Now you see 429 matching, because it is basically the searching is already going on. Once you have done you have pressed 100 here, 10 and others, the searching is already going on. So this fleet strength basically shows there is high chance. If this is strong, it means there is high chance that you will get a spot instance. But the issue with the spot instance is it can run out of time, or it will basically die at any time. Okay, but for this 100 instance with 10 virtual CPU and 10 other, you can say 10 virtual CPU and 10, you can do one thing, that is you will be charged this one $161 and 81% saving compared to on demand. If you would have run 100 instances, and you would have been charged a lot compared to this, right? Okay, let's not press this one. I don't want to be charged. Now let's focus on the saving plans. So here you can see there are some saving plans. You can go for that, the commitments and others. You can go for that. You can see 1 to 3 years term, and there are some reserved instances. You can reserve instance here. You can go for dedicated hosts here, like a server, and capacity reservation. That is one you have to keep in mind, that you have to pay whether you use it or not. Okay, you have to do it. So yeah, that's something we have learned so far for the EC2 instance, and I hope you have learned a lot, and we have covered a lot so far using the EC2 instance, and you have learned this kind of things. We haven't gone through AMIs, AMI catalog, volume snapshot and others, but we have gone through a lot of topics, specifically EC2 and instances, right? So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next video.